Good morning. It is July 3rd, 2024, and welcome to the Weekly Wallow. Now, you kids are already off at the beach having a good time, enjoying your summer vacation. Now, what you don't know, or what you really should know, but probably ignore most of the time, is that by being homeschooled, you're always learning. And after Mother's Day dinner, when me and Nana and Mom were sitting around the dinner table afterwards having conversation, Nana asked me, what are you going to do with all of your extra time now that you're not directing a Classical Conversations middle school challenge class? Well, I have an idea. It's time to start the true indoctrination of Sasquatch school. Now, everyone that knows me, you kids included, know that the main reason why I homeschool you is because if anyone is going to indoctrinate you, it's going to be me. Now, while Classical Conversations gives a great basis of education, it lacks in some of the indoctrination, which is what we're going to get into with Sasquatch School. Now, the twins are entering into high school. When I started entering into high school, I had a ton of questions about the meaning of life, how we fit into the world, what is God's plan for us, all those main questions. And I was very philosophical about it and very theological. I was seeking out answers. And what I found was that most of modern America, even those within the church, even those that we think have a real good grasp on the gospel and what a Christian worldview is, many of them are lacking the ability to explain that and explain and give good answers to the questions young people have. And when I would ask these questions, I was actually told by someone that is extremely smart, Phi Beta Kappa in college, member of Mensa, and they told me, I don't like to have these discussions or these arguments with you because they're too philosophical. They're too black or white. You're looking for an actual answer. This is the postmodernism of our world where it says you can't actually know truth. But if you can't know truth, is that a truth? And if that's a truth, it defeats the postmodern ideal. So there is truth. How do we come to know this? Well, we're going to start exploring this in Sasquatch school. And in my freshman year of college, I really set out after asking these questions and not getting proper answers. Main reason because only 6% of American Christians actually have a biblical worldview. They don't know the proper answers. And even if they know the proper answers, they're probably not living them out. So how do we do this? My freshman year of college, something happened. We'll get into that later. But it really set me on a course. God set me on a course to figure out, how do you explain this? And for most of my life, it was for me. How am I going to explain this to myself? But 14 years ago, that changed. And it became, how do I explain this to my children? So in this year off of not directing Classical Conversations, we're going to focus on Sasquatch school. How do I explain and how do I start a discussion with my children about what a Christian worldview actually is and how do you live that out? And of course, as you know, with any proper schooling, you need a pedagogy, you need a scope and sequence. So that's what we're going to talk about, what you're going to be seeing over the next year. And so our pedagogy, really easy. This is just, what's the basis? What are you actually trying to teach and from what viewpoint? Well, we're classical. Classical education is the best way to learn. We're Christian. We believe that the ultimate truth is found in God. And then we also want to have a worldview. We want to have a philosophy of life that explains what we actually encounter and how we can live it out and what's the truth. So we have Classical Christian Worldview. That's Sasquatch school. And we really have 6 different areas, classes that we're going to be focused on. The first one, Pig paddock practicum. How do you learn? This is basic classical education. Now, if you've gone to classical conversations practicum, you've probably been explained what the trivium is and how you learn through a classical education. And that trivium is the grammar stage. You learn definitions of things, you memorize them. You then enter into the dialectic stage, you ask questions. And finally, the rhetoric stage, you're able to give a defense of the truths that you have learned. And you can apply that to any aspect of your life. So that is the basic core thing that you need to learn. You need to learn how to learn. And I think we've established that in you kids pretty well with classical conversations, but it's time to apply that and get a better understanding of a Christian worldview. And so we move into the next, the Apologetics course, which is holy BS. As you know, I actually should say, I don't believe anything that's told to me. Like the Bereans, we're taught to search truth out. In Proverbs 25, it says that God hides things, but it's the purpose of a king to search out those things. Not everything is handed to us. We have to go and we have to search them out. So here's the thing. If you start from the perspective that everything is a lie, everything you've been told is a lie, where do you go from that? That a lot of people are scared of. That's deconstructionism. Oh, people deconstruct their faith. Throw a nuke in there, throw a grenade in there, blow it all up. Everything I've ever told you, everything you've ever heard from anyone, left, right, liberal, conservative, it's all crap. So what do? What can you know? What truths can you know? Now, from 44 years of life, I can tell you kids, I know 3 things. And all of these are going to sound really familiar to you. These are axioms of life that you need to know going forward. Can't speak. Axiom number 1. You are going to die. We know that. Living on a farm, we see death all the time. Axiom number 1, you're going to die. Axiom number 2, and this you kids know, and pretty much anyone that knows Mr. A or Sasquatch knows this also. Axiom number 2, I do what I want. When it comes down to it, I'm going to do what I want. You may be able to convince me otherwise, but in the end, I'm going to do what I want. Unfortunately, this leads to axiom number 3, which also, if you know me, you know is true. I'm not a very good person. So here's the thing. If I'm going to die and I do what I want, but I'm also not a good person, there's really not much hope for me. Now, hopefully, there's just a nihilism after death and everything ends. Because if that's the case, who cares? I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to be a bad person. And in the end, I die and nothing matters. Unfortunately, fortunately, no one wants to live like that. And that's one of the things that everybody will admit. Nobody actually wants to live in that type of anarchy. So what conclusions can you come to? Now, if I'm going to die and I do what I want, and I'm not a good person, I'm generally not a fan of extrapolating things that are true about my life to others, but those 3 things I can extrapolate to everyone else, which means not only am I not going to be able to save myself, but no one else is going to be able to save me. No one else is going to be able to save themselves. And us as humanity are not going to be able to save humanity from the fall, which leads to only one conclusion. Only God can save us. Now, once you come to that conclusion that only God can save us, the obvious question is, what does that actually mean? How does that play out? That brings us to our 3rd class, Classical Christian CC Worldview. Now, Classical Conversations does a great job of having a good scope and sequence. But when it comes to Bible study and devotions, they leave it open. And there's no guidance there. And over the past 3 years, my favorite part of being a director of Classical Conversations has been having morning devotionals with you kids in asking these questions and diving into the scripture and actually having discussions with people that have open minds. And so we're going to work on that. We're going to work on hopefully building a 30-week Bible study that can be used in challenge classes at Classical Conversations that walks you through the story of the Bible. And as you know, that's creation, fall, redemption, restoration. That's the entire story of the Bible. And when you have that framework, how then do you live that out? And not only how do you live it out, but how does a Christian biblical worldview answer the basic questions of life? Not only that, how does it compare to the other worldviews that compete for our mental capacity and our belief systems? And can those belief systems in different worldviews actually coexist, or are they contradictory that lead to cognitive dissonance? So we get to the fun part. Once you know that only God can save you, once you have a basic framework for what a Christian worldview actually is, the question becomes, how do you live that out? Now, a lot of life is mundane, and you have to live out and just keep taking the next step that God puts in front of you. But that means that trying to apply these things to life isn't that exciting. Luckily, I live in the middle of the forest. I raise pigs in this forest, and there's amazing opportunities to learn how we are supposed to live out a biblical worldview and exert our dominion and stewardship over creation here on the farm. Woodpecker. So we're going to look at different lessons that we've learned, how we raise pigs, how we just trust God out here on the farm, and how that can apply to all aspects of life. Fifth, what do we got? Mountain man cult. You know me, running around in the forest, shooting each other, great fun. But if you think that Mountain Man Colt, our family-friendly airsoft battles are just about running around shooting each other, you haven't been paying attention. Now, I've said since the 90s that our country was in trouble and we were going to come to a head, possibly a new civil war. And if you don't see that yet, I'm not sure where you've been, okay? We are at a head. We are pretty much at a Cold War status. The shooting just hasn't started. Now, I'm not advocating to start a hot war. However, there are great philosophical questions of where do you draw a red line? When do you start to reject the authority of man in order to follow God? Now, that is a decision. Those are thoughts that in lines that every man must make for himself. I don't think that there is necessarily clear red lines that can be applied across the board because it's difficult. But you have to think through these. And that's kind of what Mountain Man Cult is meant to do. We're supposed to I want to put you all in situations where you have to make a decision. Do you follow what the governing authority is telling you? Or do you follow what God's telling you to do? Do you do the right thing? Or do you follow orders? And the best way to do that is to put you in the woods, get you hopped up on adrenaline, thinking you're going to be shot and killed and fail. You're going to have to learn how to lead, how to make these decisions. It's going to be great fun, as y'all have noticed already. How you doing, Buki? And then finally, we have Sasquatch conspiracies. Y'all know that I love conspiracy theories. And the reason why is because I don't believe anything they've told me. What have we just seen in the past couple weeks? Joe Biden's supposed to be the smartest tack around. He's a genius. Oh, gets up. Turns out he can't string a sentence together. So the government and the media have been lying to us about his mental capacity. What about for the past 3 years, 4 years, COVID? Oh, you have to take the vaccine. They're safe. They're effective. Oh, wait, are they? Why are we seeing all these excess deaths? Is there any relation? Did COVID actually escape from a lab? Was it the result of gain of function testing? All of these things they lied to us about. So the question with Sasquatch conspiracies is, what else have they lied to you about? Go back and rethink your basic assumptions, and can you prove them? It's going to be great fun. And the ultimate question, the ultimate Sasquatch conspiracy that we're going to explore is the world is controlled by an elite satanic cult. Once you come to that realization, everything starts falling into place. Now, while this is going to be geared towards you, my children, I also know that iron sharpens iron. And I think the best iron to sharpen me is you, my kids. However, I also want to put this out there for our community, for our Classical Conversations community, for our farm church community, for our big church community, for our trail life and American Heritage Girl communities. I want those in our lives to be able to participate in this, because iron sharpens iron, and we're going to come to better decisions, better conclusions, and have a better community to live out a biblical worldview if we bring others into this. I hope you as my kids will partake in this adventure. I think it's going to be super fun. I also hope others participate in this. And with that, it's one of those, James 1:5 says that if you're without wisdom, ask God and he will give it to you. And that's really what we're searching for here. What Sasquatch School is all about. Gaining wisdom so that we can boldly live out the lives that Jesus has set before us. And we can only do that one way, taking it step by step by step. Just like Father's Day, PT and I climbed Mount Adams, 12,276 feet. Now, we set out with a mission. We set out with the goal of reaching the summit. And I'll be honest, I did not think we were going to make it. For various reasons, I did not think we were going to make it to the summit. No chance we were going to make it after we had started. And yet PT, all he did was he kept taking a step. He put one step in front of the other, took a rest, and then kept putting the other step forward. And he just kept doing that. Up 12,276 feet. We reached the summit. And it's because we had a goal, and we just kept taking the step. And we took the punches as they rolled, because God said, we're going to have tribulations. We're going to have difficulties in this life. And all you can do is take it one step at a time. So while I have a lot of ideas up in my head, none of it's really out on paper yet, other than this outline of what I want to do. And so each week on Wednesdays, we're going to get the Weekly Wallow. We're going to put forth the next idea, the next lesson. How do we actually put forth and examine a classical Christian worldview? And I don't have the answers. I don't have all the answers. I would need help on this, and I hope you, my kids, will participate in this, have fun, ask questions, and just boldly go forth in life and live out the lives that God has put in front of you. And I hope others participate in this as well. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be awesome. And I don't know what the Lord has in store, but we're going to take it one step at a time. We'll see you next week.